Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1133B, and today's date is November 21st, 2016, and the title of the episode is America is Divided More Than Ever, Just What the Elite Want. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, I've been seeing all over the corporate media, the social media, and family, friends who are out there saying that, Trump is going to be creating this registry for Muslims. This is completely unconstitutional. And once again, it looks like the corporate media completely blew this out of proportion. And we can see from the incoming White House chief, Priebus, he said that, no, we're not going to have a registry based on religion. We understand that Trump would like to track the Muslims. He did this through his campaign without understanding what the real problem is. And it's not the Muslims. These false flags, these individuals, the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, this is all made up. And again, taking these made up individuals and saying all people who are Muslim, they are the problem, well, that is not good to do either. We've seen in past history that, guess what happens? That doesn't work. What we need to do is you need to go to the root of the problem. Where did these groups come from? Who created them? Why are they there? Why are we in Syria? Why are we working with Al-Qaeda? Why are we supporting Al-Qaeda? Who funds them? Where does the money come from? One way to find out who controls these individuals is just follow the money. Sometimes it's, covert money coming in from drugs and other things. But if you do investigation, you can figure it out and you can find where this is coming from. And through the past, we can see that Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Al-Sham, the rebranded Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, we know that these are made up, these are paid mercenaries. The United States, the deep state, the shadow government, central bankers, they are in control of these paid mercenary armies. They're used to have regime change. They're used to scare people. And once Trump figures this out, he'll realize, well, wait a minute. We don't need to do what I said during my campaign trail. I found out the truth. Maybe he knows already. Maybe he'll never know. But this is up to him, his staff, to figure out what's really going on. It seems during his campaign he had a little bit of knowledge, but we need to see, again, what his actions are going to be before we make any judgments on what he's going to do, if he's an insider or outsider. But one thing for sure is that this country right now, it is more divided than ever. And there was a new Gallup poll, and it officially confirmed that, yes, a record 77% of Americans believe the U.S. is divided on the most important values, while 21% believe it is united and in agreement. And what we're really seeing right now is the people right now are divided. And this is what the elite want. They want us fighting with each other. They don't want us coming together as a people. They want to keep us divided. They want hate. They are pushing this to the extreme because the truth is seeping out. They're nervous. And you can see right now they don't want to lose control. And if they lose control, well, they're going to come out with their claws and they're going to hit very hard with events to try to scare people back into line. Because it always goes back to losing their power. Remember, they've been working on these plans for a very long time. They've been working on their globalist plans for a very long time. They've been working on the plans to control people, to control the flow of currency, to control the corporate media, the flow of information, to have regime change around the world, to have a court system that was above sovereign governments. And all their hard work, it's starting to fall apart. They're just not going to give it up. Obama is pushing his $5 billion worth of regulations before Thanksgiving. The Obama administration turned up the regulation spigot and published about 21 new regulations in the last week that will cost the economy $5 billion. So the U.S. House of Representatives decided, you know something, with a vote with 240 to 179, which will allow Congress to undo any last-minute rules and regulations put on the books on the last days of Obama. And it's called the Midnight Rules Act, because they're looking at this and they're saying this is ridiculous. Representative Darrell Issa is saying that the bill is about reviving the separation of powers to ensure our laws are written by the representatives we actually vote for, not unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats who are on their way out of the door. And we can see right now they need the Senate to pass this. Will the Senate pass this? We don't know. Well, we'll keep track of it and we'll see. But I think this is something that we need, so this way they can say, okay, look what he's done on his last day, because, again, he doesn't care how much he spends. He doesn't care about what regulations. Most of these things are probably for corporations, central banks, and different parties that he is associated with. We see right now the corporate media, the U.S. government, they are out there and they are pounding away that, oh, you shouldn't be listening to this fake news. We need to get rid of the fake news. It looks like they went from conspiracy theory sites to fake news because they realize conspiracy theory not working anymore. But we have to remember, and we need to go back in time. Remember when Brian Williams apologized for telling inaccurate stories about his experiences? Well, that was fake news. Yeah, he was let go. His salary was reduced a couple of million, but he was still making millions of dollars. But it was all fake. Remember when NBC admits that it rigged crashes with a pickup trucks because the gas tank was on the side? They rigged it so it would explode. Again, another fake news story. GM sued. And right now, the corporate media, they're digging their own hole here. They have more fake news and more fake information, propaganda, than we've ever seen. We see right now that the UN is going to delay their global warming treaty for 2 years because they understand that Trump, well, he's not a believer in global warming. And he's going to get to the bottom of this. He wants to know what this global warming is all about. What's the real data? What's the real information? And if this was such an emergency, why would they delay it? Why wouldn't all the other countries say we're going forward with this? If it's such a bad thing that the temperatures of the earth are warming. But again, we don't have the raw data. We only have their computer models, and we know what happens with computer models. You can program it any way you want. I know people are going to disagree with it because I know they all believe in the global warming or climate change. Yes, climate is always changing. It is controlled by the sun, not by the people. All of this, once again, is fake news. What they really want, what they're really trying to do, is create a carbon tax. They want to tax you for all of it. They're putting it back on the people, and that's really what they want to do. It always comes down to the same thing. Get the people to pay more taxes to pay down the central bank debt. That's why they're pushing this so hard. They tried many different things. They floated out there a wealth tax. Well, people didn't go with that. If you go back in time, back in the 70s, they told us that we're entering an ice age, that everything's going to be frozen over. And if you go throughout time, they told you many different things that never came true. They latched on to global warming because we went through a warming period of time because of the sun. The sun right now is at a low period where we're seeing more cold and frigid weather They're trying to create something that doesn't exist. And when Congress, and I think it was Issa who was asking questions about the data, they never wanted to hand over the raw data. Actually, they said that the science is settled. Science is never settled. And if the science is true, you should be able to repeat the data over and over and over and over. And you should allow people to have the data. But guess why they don't? Because they know it's a lie. Every time it's a lie or propaganda, they don't want to give you the real information, the facts, the data. And I'm not talking about the computer model information, the raw data. Remember, just because the United States has little warm spots in here and there, the Earth is made up of ocean. There are other countries in this world, and most of it is covered by water. So guess what? It's all because of a carbon tax. Now, Dueterte and Putin, they met, and we can see right now Dueterte, he is moving further and further away from the United States, moving closer and closer to China and Russia. He met with Putin, and we can see right now that it looks like the encircling of China is not working at this point, and the United States is losing countries. Philippines being the first. We're going to see other countries say, you know something, we're going to have to deal with China. They are an economic power in this region. And from the example of the Philippines, we can see that other countries are going to look at this and say, you know something, maybe we should make deals with them. Australia is already joining up with the free trade deal. And most of the other Asian countries most likely will start to fall in line and do the same thing. We see that Putin and Trump, well, they confirmed that they're willing to normalize Russian and American relations. They spoke on the phone during the conversation. Putin and Trump not only agreed to assess the current unsatisfactory state of bilateral relations, but they also spoke in favor of active joint work to normalize relations and aim for constructive cooperation on a wide range of issues. And we can see right now that the United States government, the central bankers, the deep state, the shadow government, they're still pushing Trump to keep Russia as the enemy. Obama is out there doing this. NATO is out there doing this. The European nations are out there doing this. But again, let's see where he goes with this. Let's see his actions. Erdogan is out there saying that he's dropping the bid for the EU and saying, you know something, we're just going to join the Shanghai Pact instead. And the Shanghai Pact is made up of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. And that is with Russia and China. And we can see that many of these countries right now, they're moving away from the United States government central bankers. Remember, all during this period, the United States government central bankers, they have been using forced regime change on all of these countries, pressuring them into doing what they want. And now these nations are turning away from the United States. We see out in Syria, in Aleppo, Russian Defense Ministry issued a statement saying that the radicals right now, they're firing assault rifles in Aleppo. They're not allowing the civilians to leave, to move, and they are picking them off one at a time. And what we're seeing is that there's hundreds of desperate residents who are protesting, wanting Russian established humanitarian corridors unblocked by the terrorists, so they can leave eastern Aleppo for freedom. And right now, the terrorists are keeping them there. And we know why they're keeping them there. If they let all the people go, they will have no shields, and Russia and Syria will bomb that entire area. We see that the Syrian military, in cooperation with local militias, ambushed a vehicle carrying cargo of medicines, which was going to be delivered to the terrorist groups. And they confiscated everything that they had going to these terrorist groups. We see right now the UN made a proposal to Syria, and the proposal is very simple. let's start splitting up Syria. We will give the moderates, which are the terrorists, the eastern areas of Aleppo. And the other area, the west, the Syrian government can have. Well, the Syrian foreign minister, well, he said, absolutely not. This is completely rejected. And the UN mandate is to help keep the sovereignty of Syria. There is no reason to split Aleppo unless the UN is controlled by the United States, because this is what the United States government central bankers want. And again, Syria and Russia are not going to go for this because they have the upper hand. They are destroying the terrorists. The Islamic State, al-Nusra, the moderate rebels, everything the United States government central bankers wanted, it's not working anymore. They have lost Syria at this point. Unless something magically changes, maybe all of a sudden there's a tactical nuke that explodes in this area and all of a sudden everything changes. We don't know. But we can see once the United States government is backed into a corner, and I'm talking about the shadow government, the deep state, the central bankers, they will do whatever they have to reach their goal. They haven't given up. Russia is out there, and they're saying that they have all the evidence they need to show that the moderate rebels, the terrorists, they have been using chemical agents, biological agents throughout Aleppo. And they're handing these all over to the UN. They have all the evidence they need. This is not propaganda like the United States government central bankers use. It is fact, evidence that have been uncovered. Russia right now is building a full-scale naval base in Syria. And we can see right now there's an MB-31 Sea Tug of the Russian Black Sea Fleet equipped with SPK 46-150 floating derrick. It passed through the Black Sea Straits in the direction of the Syrian Arab Republic. And we see that there are other ships heading in this area, which include a Kill 158 vessel, which is carrying several anti-sabotage boats of the Raptor class, which also pass through the Bosphorus. And we can see right now they are planning to build a base there. Looks like Russia isn't going anywhere. And we can see right now that Syria is taking back its country. Now remember what happens when the U.S. government central bankers don't get Syria, then get into Iran. The petrodollar starts to break apart. And the other countries right now, well, the people are rising up. The people are saying, you know something, we don't want the United States in our country anymore. And this is why we're having problems in Yemen, Libya, Iraq. This is why the United States is continually bringing in more and more troops, because they're trying to maintain control in many of these areas. And it's not working. We see right now Turkey is out there, and they're calling on the U.S. allies to reconsider a Syria no-fly zone. And we have to remember, a no-fly zone in Syria would mean that the United States and the coalition forces would have to come in, fly in, and destroy airports, planes on the ground. So the Syrian Air Force can't fly. The Russian Air Force can't fly. If they do this, this is World War III. And right now, I don't believe the United States government central bankers are going to make that move, because to the world, it will look like they started it. But we can see right now, this is definitely on the drawing board. It has been for a very long time. We know that Trump now is going to be inaugurated in January. We'll have to see what happens coming up to December 19th, because we know the elite, the globalists, well, they want to flip a lot of the electoral college votes, and they want it to go towards Hillary. So we know what's going on here. We understand that they want things back on track. They want the war. They want Syria. They want Iran. They have goals. They want the TPP. They want the TTIP. But all of it is falling apart right now, which means they feel they're losing control. If they feel they're losing control, that means they're going to create events. That means they're going to do even more. This is why you're seeing the corporate media. This is why you're seeing the riots. This is why they're trying to keep this going as long as possible, keeping the United States divided, the people divided, people confused on what's really going on here. Because this is all part of their agenda. And the people right now, we need to come together. We need to stop protesting, rioting, and things like that. We need to look at who our true enemy is. We need to dig through all the corporate media propaganda and understand what's really going on here. Who is the major problem? What groups don't we need? Why are they doing this? Because until you can understand it, you won't know how to fix it. And everyone always looks at the surface. No one looks very deep to see why all of these things are happening. And we need to start to do this, and we need to spread the word even further. So we can take back this country. So we can say, we know what you are doing. We know what is going on. We know what your agenda is. And if you look back throughout history, you can see they are very methodical. They do things very slowly. They do things very in a way where you think it's for you, but it really isn't. And over time, you start to realize, well, this really isn't for me. But you don't recognize it until it's too late. Well, we're at that point already where we're starting to realize that all these things they've done, all these bills and all these laws and all the things they've done, the central bank has done, the shadow government has done across the ocean in all these different countries, this wasn't for us. This was all for them. To keep their system going, to keep themselves in power, to have more power over the people. Now it's time to kick them out. Now it's time to pull back the curtain and expose them. Now it's time to show who is really running the country and why these individuals, why the central bank can no longer exist. They need to be removed, and all those government officials that are bought and paid for, those individuals need to be gone. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.